What is up, wrestling fans? It is really weird that they're only in one ear. It is Thursday night, and it's the Two Bros Wrestling Show, and a special night. What's happening, Kevin?
Thursday night. I know that's not when we normally go, but as everyone out there probably is aware, we were not live on our normal Sunday night, and that's because of Doug always liking to take off Vince McMahon's birthday to celebrate. And I hope you had fun
Absolutely.
on Sunday, Doug.
It's it
Uh,
it has been a tradition for 52 years now since I was a wee little 12 months old, and it's just gone on since then.
the old man turned 80, so I'm sure you did something special on Sunday.
Of course, we can't really talk about it because of NDAs and everything, but just believe me when I say it was very, very special.
We obviously were not on the air because of both the PLEs that took place on Sunday. Those will probably factor into some of the things we're talking about later tonight. But our main event tonight is yet another premium live event on the horizon, which is happening this Sunday, which is why we're doing this show early. That and the holiday weekend, we want to get you prepared. Clash in Paris is our main event topic that we will be getting to after we talk a little news.
Ooh, news. In a completely uneventful week in wrestling.
So much to talk about. Absolutely not an uneventful week. Let's start with the news that is not as egregious, and that is one of the bigger stories. It's hard to rank some of these, but the reveal happened that Clash in Paris, which again we're getting ready to talk about in a few moments, is going to be the last WWE PLE to air on Peacock.
Yeah.
Beginning September 20th, ESPN will be the exclusive home here in the United States for all of WWE's premium live events.
Mm-hmm.
The new PLE that takes place on September 20th is going to be competing head-to-head with is All Out. It's been dubbed WrestlePalooza. It's going to emanate from Indianapolis. Will feature John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. Of course, the big story here isn't the head-to-head. The big story is, of course, the ESPN takeover from Peacock happening way sooner than any of us thought. Peacock will remain the home way sooner. It was supposed to go through, their contract originally was through March, but apparently there's a loophole. It's sort of a loophole. There's a certain number of dates that was required. And even though the contract was supposed to go till March, because they started doing two-night plans, they got to that quicker and they themselves exit Peacock will remain the home of the tape library and NXT PLEs at least through March. And the relationship isn't completely over because in a separate announcement, Peacock and WWE touted the fact that Peacock is about to become the exclusive home of Saturday night's main event, as those shows will no longer be airing on linear television. Reportedly, the ratings have not been what NBC would have wanted anyway, but the fact that they can tout it as an exclusive arrangement means that on December 13th, that Saturday night's main event will be centered around what we now know will be John Cena's farewell match. So the John Cena farewell match in December will be exclusive on Peacock. Doug, what do you make of this whole ESPN being fast-tracked for these PLEs?
I think I don't like it, Kevin. Don't like any of this. Don't like this fast track to ESPN. Don't like it that I still have to keep a Peacock subscription, even though it's just for Saturday night's main event and Cena's final match and God knows what else they're going to throw to us in the meantime. And I'm sure all this was just to appease Peacock once they realized they could get it out that early, but they should give something to their partners there to make amends, just like they're doing for NOLA, because they snatched away WrestleMania from them after they'd already given it to them. I mean, I get it from a business standpoint, but just, in case I haven't made it clear, I don't like it. Not liking it.
From a consumer standpoint, if you want, this is the death of the WWE network. I know the network itself went away, but for the most part, what you used to get for $9.99 all in one spot with the WWE network, you could get from Peacock. for a very similar price. But the idea of everything WWE in one place for a low price, those days are gone. So, from a consumer standpoint, you're going to have, if you want everything, you're going to probably end up having to have multiple services. We know Saturday Night's Main Event obviously is going to Peacock. There is talk that ESPN actually wants the tape library, ESPN wants the NXT PLEs. If they're going to, obviously they gave them $1 billion. ESPN is going to be the main home of WWE PLEs. If that's what it's going to be, then I would like it if they got most of everything. So at the very least, it's one subscription if you want.
Yeah, one subscription would be great now, and I'm gonna have to get like a sports ball subscription to ESPN or whatever it is. Plus, is it ESPN Plus? Can I get that rolled
Oh,
into Hulu and Disney Plus?
no, don't even go that
Oh,
route because ESPN Plus was something that already existed that's going away. They're calling it something else. ESPN Plus
oh,
becomes
great.
ESPN something else. The new streaming service is just ESPN,
I'm so confused about where I'm
but
gonna
not
get wrestling
ESPN,
from.
the linear channel. So we will definitely wait for the dust to settle because there is some indication that some of us, as we reported last week, will be getting the ESPN subscription if you currently have a live streaming package or a cable package that includes ESPN. YouTube TV is not. Xfinity, last I heard, is not. Comcast hasn't made a deal. I think DirecTV finally came on, so it's going to come in bits and pieces, and hopefully it happens that those who already have a subscription that includes ESPN will not have to worry about that additional cost. But we will just have to see how it shakes out. There's a lot of gray area in that. We'll definitely keep people informed. We're going to be talking about this one for a while. In a related story, back to NXT for a moment, as part of all this shuffling around, according to PWE Insider, NXT is getting ready to expand its premium live event schedule moving forward. The current plan is for roughly 8 specials a year, and I expect a lot of that is because of the fact that the other PLEs are going elsewhere, and probably also will depend on what Tony Khan has going on with AEW. That seems to be when NXT likes to run those PLEs.
But they're not competition at all.
Not at all. Not at all. The other story that we have to talk about that, everyone is talking about,
My
and it's
goodness.
not something that we normally discuss on this show. We don't often delve into the independent wrestling news, but this is one that you just can't avoid talking about. For those who are
Mm-mm.
not aware, Stuart Smith, an independent wrestler who goes by the moniker of Psycho Stu, is in stable but critical condition after an in-ring attack by Rajah Jackson, the son of UFC legend Quentin Rampage Jackson. The attack took place on a Knox Pro wrestling event. Knox Pro is the promotion operated by WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi. Here's the rundown of what happened. Again, if you haven't heard, it was supposed to be an angle. Jackson is not a wrestler. He is an MMA fighter like his father, but he was brought in on this event. It was supposed to be a work. Jackson was supposed to take Stu down and deliver a couple of worked punches or two before being pulled off by other wrestlers. But what ended up happening was just an assault. Jackson repeatedly struck Smith to the head until Smith was unconscious. The whole incident has gone viral because it was being live streamed. And there is a lot of fallout that continues to happen from this. Knox Pro has been dropped by WWE from their WWE ID program. And of course, most importantly, is how Smith is doing. As I said, he's stable but critical. There are varying reports onto the extent of injury. Some say his teeth were all knocked out, that he might have permanent brain damage. It's going to take some time to fully ascertain the extent of the injuries, especially any permanent ones. There's no word on what caused Jackson to go off script so brutally, and the LAPD is actually investigating the whole ugly, ugly incident.
Have you seen some of the clips from Rajah's live stream where like his first encounter with Stu, where Stu whacks him with a I don't know if it was a gimmicked beer can or what, assuming to some degree it was at least an empty beer can, which I'm assuming can properly be crushed in a way as you make contact with somebody. You know, because Stu apparently thought he was a worker when he was first introduced to him, and he thought it was an angle since there was a camera there. Because these both Rampage and his son Rajas do a lot of kick streaming, and that's where things started. And the kid just didn't understand the business, and Stu didn't understand that he wasn't a worker, and it just kind of tailspin. It was this tailspin from there. It's insane. I mean, what Stu did was not exactly smart, but they quickly, once it was quickly made apparent, oh, this guy's not a worker. He's just here. He's like our Logan Paul kind of person. Look, he's a Twitch streamer or whatever, not a worker. But the kid just could not get it out of get over it. It's so bizarre to get a receipt like
Well,
that for a goofy little potato, you know?
and one that they seemed in some of the clips to have worked out prior to this assault. I mean, this is another one we will obviously continue to report on because
Yeah.
there is a criminal investigation. And it's not often that what we see happen in this work world that we like to cover, professional wrestling, where something happens so brutal, so unnecessary that law enforcement has to get involved and actually investigate it as a legit assault and not a pro wrestling angle assault. But we
No, no,
will
this
definitely give the follow up
not an
to
assault.
how this shakes out. Very ugly incident.
Very.
Moving on to some
Mm.
much lighter news, something to watch as we head into the back end of the year is Chris Jericho's services. His AEW contract runs through the end of 2025. Jericho has been dropping hints online that's interpreting as him showing interest in WWE. Uh, Jericho Coy, obviously he's in his 50s, so there's that part you have to consider. But he's been a day one AEW guy, as instrumental
Mhm.
as anyone in getting the company attention, especially in those early days. Of course, Y2J also spent nearly 2 decades in WWE, so it's not out of the question that he maybe would want to
Mhm.
return and end his career there. It's not like he burned bridges or anything. Tight with Triple H as far as everything I've always heard. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see where Jericho winds up. Too soon, Becky Lynch. This past Monday on
Yes.
Raw from Birmingham,
Yes.
England, Becky cut a promo where she referenced the late Ozzy Osbourne, who was from Birmingham. Specifically, the punchline to the whole promo was she would have died too had she, been from Birmingham. Maybe a little bad taste, sure, but in the realm of what you expect from a heel trying to get
Mhm.
hometown heat, I mean, it's not out of the realm of what we see a lot of. The comments, though, in this online escalation world of ours were quickly picked up on, condemned beyond just it being an angle. The Osborne family themselves have now chimed in, which is again unfortunate. Specifically, Ozzy's daughter had to say, Kelly spoke out calling Becky names. WWE was being condemned by Kelly for allowing this kind of disrespect to her father. We should note that Ozzy Osbourne was very involved in WWE through the years as a WWE Hall of Famer. Was from the early days of WrestleMania through the Attitude years. I mean, Ozzy would occasionally appear on WWE, but I don't know. Maybe let's just start. Maybe a good place to start is just leaving real life death out of pro wrestling angles. That would be a great place to start.
Or is it all a work, Kevin? Is Kelly angling for a WrestleMania match with Becky Lynch? What's going on? I don't know what's a
Oh,
work and what's a shoot anymore.
in this world and or just wrestling, Doug.
In this world, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother.
Yeah.
Um, Also with us, at least for another year on television, is good old JR. He's sticking around AEW. Jim
Yeah.
Ross, who's had a lot of health problems, and it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be surprising if we were reporting that JR was stepping away, but happy to confirm that he and Tony Khan had worked out a deal while the company was in London recently to keep JR with AEW through August. The deal is for all pay-per-views and occasional TV spots, very similar to the workload that JR does now, a role that he says he's very happy with. Honestly, considering his health issues, weekly travel and things doesn't seem the smartest. So we got to keep JR on our TVs without maybe, damaging his health by keeping him on the road.
I like the JR is like a special attraction. I like
Yeah.
that. We break him out for pay-per-views and very special TV appearances. That's the way JR should be at this point.
And it's a nice show of respect. It really is.
Hmm.
And I know this is kind of our third England related story in a row, but we'll end on another England related story. And that is, were you taken off guard when Raw this week came on early because it was running from England? If so, just a reminder not to let that happen again. WWE is not in England, but they remain in Europe through the weekend, not just Clash in Paris, but also Raw, which will air Monday from Paris. So the Labor Day Raw will start live on Netflix at 2 p.m. The PLE on Sunday also has a 2 p.m. start time for the main card. So that is the perfect segue, though, since
Indeed, it
we
is.
mentioned Clash in Paris,
Ouch.
to talk about Clash in Paris. The card for Clash in Paris. Before we get into the card that we know will be, Doug, let's first talk
Hmm.
about some matches that will not be happening, as well
Okay.
as at least one that seems likely to be added. It should
Yep.
be, obvious to everyone, but the previously announced match between Stephanie Vakir challenging for the women's championship against Naomi, that match is no longer happening because Naomi relinquished the title after announcing her pregnancy on Raw, which we probably should have noted in our news segment. Congratulations to Naomi and Jimmy Uso on their.
And just a side note, what a way to drop a title. The best. Hey, I'm
The
pregnant.
best.
I'm going away. The best way to drop a title. I love that.
Obviously, this is something they've wanted for a while, so I am truly happy for her. But at the
Yes.
same time, she finally was getting a really meaty that she was sinking her teeth into as a heel. So,
Hmm.
yeah, like you, the absolute best time
Yes.
relinquishing. Yeah, they took good news and everyone's good graces and completely flipped the script on them by
Yes.
going heel, even as you're announcing your pregnancy. Perfect.
Yep.
But yeah, that match won't be happening. But congrats to the happy couple. As for matches that are likely to be added, Randy Orton hit an RKO on out of nowhere on Drew McIntyre on SmackDown last week. The two tangled as part of a tag team match at SummerSlam that also include Jelly
Hmm.
Roll. But so, all that said, we got to get the one-on-one. It's a pretty decent possibility WWE adds that one-on-one match to Clash in Paris. It is being discussed internally, hasn't been announced officially. Obviously, we're taping this. If you're watching us on recording or if you're watching us live, SmackDown is until tomorrow night. Would not be surprised if tomorrow night we get this match
Hmm.
added. Doug, let's just call it in case it is that happens. I think it's pretty likely. I'm going.
You say you're going Janet Reno? What?
I hope I didn't say that.
There was a little bit of a rip there, and I heard Janet Reno. Your money's on Janet Reno. I'm going to go with McIntyre myself.
Honestly, that one
Listen,
could go either way. I think that at this stage, Randy Orton loses nothing when he puts someone over, but Drew
hmm
McIntyre puts a lot of people over, and it
yeah.
wouldn't be surprising if he does the same here.
Hmm.
Moving on to matches that we know for certain are locks for this Sunday's show. Doug, let's start with the good old fashioned Donnybrook match.
Good
And
old
that
fashioned
is,
Donnybrook.
I guess that's a way of saying in Europe and
Hmm.
anywhere or fight. I don't know. I don't know if it's falls count anywhere. It's definitely weapons of any sort. So it's basically a street fight. It's
Yeah.
just on English or European streets instead of American streets.
And that makes it
Um,
a Donnybrook. Okay.
and it makes it a Donnybrook. Why not?
Oh no, my notes just went away. Hold on, my phone. Okay, go ahead.
we
Wait, what
we
is there,
got
Donnie?
two guys here. We got two guys here who have a very long history with each other, and they always seem to put on a good contest. I would like to see this personally. This is less a prediction and more a booking, I guess, on my part.
Right.
But I would
No,
like to see Rusev, just because he's the one most recently returned, and therefore I think he needs a signature win
Rus-
here.
Rusev definitely needs something. I mean, yeah, he needs something. I mean, he just kind of floated around after that whole best man gimmick back in AEW and never really got over. And then there was some sort of conqueror thing, and Miro comes back, and Rusev needs something, man. He needs something.
He does. Maybe a win at Clash of Paris would be a good way to start over his old buddy Sheamus, who I'm sure is willing to put the man over.
And incidentally, Rusev buddies with Psycho Stu. Trained there years and years ago, and was one of the first wrestlers to contribute to Psycho Stu's GoFundMe to help with his bills.
Yeah, Chris Jericho, who we mentioned earlier, another big contributor to that. A lot of wrestlers chiming in on that.
Mhm.
Let's go to not a title match. Let's go to one of the matches that I think might be higher on the card just because of the men involved, but because
Okay.
it's not a title match, I'll save the title matches till last. But let's go
Hmm.
singles contest here, where we have Roman Reigns taking on Bronson Reed
This is
with the
this is
Shula Fala.
why is it we're worrying over like footwear and headwear now? I mean, what is going on in the WWE?
Roman Reigns is of a significantly large size. I'm sure it's for him just to go to your normal Foot Locker and get a pair of shoes. Those have to be special ordered shoes. The man just wants his shoes back.
Sure, sure, but you know, I mean, Bronson, big old boy too, big old boy.
It would be obviously a big deal if Bronson Reed could get the nod here, but I just sort of see Bronson as the stepping stone for where this is heading through this
Mhm.
stable. And so Roman Reigns goes over.
Yeah, I would love to see Bronson Reed go over Roman Reigns. That would be so huge for him. But yeah, it's he. You're right. It's a stepping stone for him.
Going with the other non-title match and saving the
Okay.
two title matches for
Oh,
last.
okay.
I do think, though, that this very likely could be your main event just because of one of the men involved, and that is
Hmm.
the continuation of the John Cena farewell tour. John Cena, the face version again, takes on Logan Paul. This is going to be fun, honestly, to see,
Hmm.
especially the crowd, like the French crowd. If you remember the last time that WWE did a pay per view in France, it may be the best wrestling crowd I have ever heard.
Yes.
And this time you got them there seeing John Cena for the last time. I think that
Hmm.
you don't have to worry about the Cena sucks chance on this one. I think the crowd is going to go insane for John Cena. Very likely your main event, despite it not being for a title, just because they know that there's going to be that huge reaction. And John has been doing the Peacemaker rounds. And as he's doing, the promotion for Peacemaker, he's being asked about WWE, and he has mentioned on like the Tonight Show, for instance, how excited he is to experience the that he's only heard about from other wrestlers.
Hmm.
I think this is your main event, and John would bask in the crowd action with his arm raised.
Yeah, and it could not happen to a better heel too to be
Oh
in
yeah,
Paris
oh
with
yeah.
against John Cena. I mean, because Logan Paul is a natural scumbag anyway, so he is the great heel to go up against John Cena as babyface Cena. We never really had a chance to really get in and get to the meat of what the hell happened to the heel Cena, and I think that's what WWE is asking as well. What the hell happened to heel Cena? But it's over. And we got our babyface Cena back against the heel Logan Paul, which is gonna just blow the roof off the place. I can't wait for this crowd. It's gonna be very cool.
Do
We
you
may not get.
agree that it's
Oh yeah,
not
oh
going to
yeah,
be?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
So
Logan
Cena
Paul's
doesn't
not
lose.
getting his arm raised. No, Cena doesn't lose. I mean, we're going to get our five moves of doom, but it doesn't matter. It's Cena's farewell tour. I wanted a redemption arc. I got like a blink and you'll miss it turn, but
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's wrestling in 2025, so I'm just
but
going to enjoy it.
as you said, Logan Paul is the perfect foil because if
Yes.
you're at all worried about let's go Cena, Cena sucks, there is not going to
Hmm.
be anyone supporting Logan Paul. It does kind of
No.
mitigate any chance for that happening of a split because, natural heel, like probably real life
Yes.
heel as well.
Yeah,
So
we're right. Yeah,
there's that.
yeah.
That gets us into our title matches, and including a married couple, I guess, between the two of them. Let's start with the female side of the equation, and that is Becky Lynch defending her women's Intercontinental Championship against Nikki Bella, the almost former Mrs. John
Almost.
Cena.
Yes. Almost former Mrs. Peacemaker.
Yeah, I mean, Nikki
So
is back and did not get exactly the return at Evolution that was planned for her because of the Liv Morgan injury. I do not see Nikki at this stage necessarily being given the Intercontinental title, especially since Becky just won it.
yeah, this one's kind of a no-brainer for me, just for those reasons. I mean, Nikki's not going to be there for the long run. Nikki's almost like a feature attraction herself, so I don't want to. I don't think she should lose, but I don't think she should win either, though. We maybe should build up to something bigger with Nikki. I don't know what that is yet, but the band's not going to lose this.
So, are you saying that there's a chance that this is a DQ finish of some sort that Becky cheats to, lose but doesn't lose the title?
I, I don't like those heavily protected finishes, but I think you need something like that to build for something bigger for Nikki.
Yeah.
Let's use her in some capacity and build her up for something. Like you say, she didn't get what they were what they were heading for with Evolution 2.0 or whatever we're calling that, but she needs something bigger, not a clash in Paris. Maybe something, I don't know, not this.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Nikki Bella came back to participate in a battle royal and then lose in
Hmm.
her first big singles match back. But I don't see her winning this title either.
Yeah,
So
yeah, agreed.
it's going to take some funky booking here to get
Hmm.
around maybe a match that they shouldn't have booked because it's just too hard to get a
Yes.
winner in a clean contest. Um, which brings us to the other title match. And again, this might be one of those shows that is carried by people being happy to see both Roman Reigns and John Cena back doing singles matches. Because I just don't see a lot of drama in the title picture. This is a world title match, a fatal four way.
Hmm.
And I know anything can happen in a fatal four way, but you got Seth Rollins, the champion, with Paul Heyman defending against CM Punk, Jey Uso, LA Knight. Obviously, all of these men have legit issues with Seth Rollins because Jay, has a claim to wanting that title back, even though he didn't lose it directly to Seth. You have LA Knight, who's had his issues, CM Punk, who's had a long-standing issue.
Hmm.
And then waiting in the wings, you have both. You have Roman Reigns back there. That seems like an ultimate destination for Seth Rollins, which is why I think in this instance, Seth Rollins comes out on top, and he's going to keep going until CM Punk finally overcomes in a one-on-one, or Roman Reigns gets involved and they have their program. But I don't see him losing it in this particular four-way.
Man, I hate Ormer so much in lockstep. It's good for us to get a little bit of heat going, but I don't see Seth losing right now either. I don't know how it comes down. I mean, there's a lot of shenanigans and a lot of double crosses that could go on through here, but we basically got, Punk, Jay, and LA Knight as all baby faces against the ultimate heel on this side now, not Logan Paul, which I also said was an ultimate heel, but in this particular match, right? Because I don't know how that goes down. Is Punk a tweener? Is he babyface? Jay clearly
Of course.
babyface.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're right that it does seem like the odds are so stacked against Seth Rollins, but as we know in wrestling math, when the odds are
Hmm.
stacked against someone, that means the opposite of what it does in the real world. It means that man is going to win.
Yes.
And there is of outside heel, um, I guess you could say, armor that Seth will be wearing to the ring in Paris. And so the three faces on one side are going to have at least three heels on the outside of the ring, that I'm
Hmm.
sure, because, again, wrestling math,
Right.
rules don't apply in matches that aren't one on one. So you can't disqualify a man for all of his buddies getting involved, and all of his buddies are definitely going to get involved. Um,
Yes.
and that'll probably be what ends up saving him in the end. But on paper, Doug, there's again some good looking matches, especially for a crowd that will be very hot. At least historically, was so hot that it makes this return probably elevated beyond what looks to be a card that isn't going to have a whole lot of surprises for us. Um, I don't see a title change unless they just pull something out of their hat that is not currently scheduled, as far as a surprise return, a surprise turn of some sort.
Hmm.
There's looked pretty
But
straightforward.
it does look pretty straightforward. It almost seems I don't want to say like a throwaway PPV or whatever, premium live event, but it kind of seems that way. It's almost like a Saturday night's main event or a Sunday night heat PLE kind of a thing, you know?
Hey man, those Saturday night's main events are exclusive to Peacock and have John Cena's last match. Those are as important as pay-per-views now,
Right, right,
I
right.
guess.
It's
Even though they don't draw
it's
ratings on NBC, and so that's why they're going just the streaming. But there you have it. And there
there you
you have
have
it.
it.
Clash in Paris. We will be reviewing this show, and so next week
Oh my
you'll
God.
want to make sure you tune in on our next live broadcast to see if they've swerved us in any way, if they managed to pull some rabbits out of the hat, any surprises that we did not see coming. Who knows? By this time next week, we might be changing our tune. If Logan Paul ends the career of John Cena early, or LA Knight is your new world champion, the egg will be on Doug and Maya's face.
Oh my goodness. That is great. I love being wrong. Let's hope so.
Doug does love being wrong. That is why he celebrates Vince McMahon's every year. All right.
Every year.
Big finish time, Doug.
Oh my gosh, Kevin.
Is there anything else that we could have for a botch other than what the obvious is? I mean, is it too obvious?
It probably is. But,
How can it be anything but?
it, you know, I, it could be its own show. This whole Raja Jackson, and maybe it should be. I was very tempted earlier this week to reach out and say, "Hey, we should flip this what we're doing on Thursday." But I was like, "No, everybody's covering this. It's going to be," and I don't think we could do it justice with with just the way we shoot our shows, where we use StreamYard. Yeah, we have some technology here to throw up things, but to get this across to folks who haven't seen it, and I'm not sure if you're a wrestling fan, how you've not seen this. It is everywhere right now. It is like the talk across the wrestling sphere. A- And there's some very interesting takes on it too, that there are definitely some things that you can put blame on Stu for, like I was talking about earlier, the just the silliness of, I mean, the first time you meet somebody, you don't hit them with a beer can and crush it. But maybe you do if you're a professional wrestler. Maybe that's that bubble they live in, and where everybody's working all the time. So. And I can almost see the misunderstanding there because the guy shows up with his little mini camera crew and he's streaming and things are going live, and quickly it escalates and then de-escalates, and people are promising me you get your receipts in the ring, everything will be fine. We'll work this into an angle. Welcome to the show, yada yada yada. But then you've got a couple of hours of not only his fan base, but his own father pushing his buttons, and other dudes within the promotion saying, "Hey, you go out there, you get your receipt, you hit him, you show him what's what, and if he's got a problem with that, I'll come in there and take him too." There's so many different things going on here, and even stuff I've watched. I don't know if you get the feeling that still some people are still working, even when they're doing interviews like TMZ and like all these other like podcasts and everything. Everything is a work and everything is a shoot, and it's a work shoot and a shoot worked. At the end of the day, there were some bad decisions made all around. None made a bigger bad decision than this kid who clearly has issues beyond
Oh yeah,
whatever. I mean, there's so
there's
much
nothing.
there to unpack,
Yeah,
so much there to unpack, and then to hear that he perhaps had a concussion days before and shouldn't have been doing anything physical anyway. I,
yeah.
just so
There's
much, and a lot of lives have been permanently altered by this. Hopefully, Stu can make a recovery. Hopefully, this kid can get the help he needs because there's seriously some things going on there, and it, I,
Dave Meltzer
I don't know.
called this the worst thing he's ever seen happen in a pro wrestling ring, and Dave Meltzer has been around for a minute, and that says
It's
a lot to me. And what else could be the botch of the week? It's my botch too. I know, as you said, who hasn't seen the video by now? Me personally, I just chose not to watch
good
it.
for
I
you.
saw I saw enough from the some of the reaction vids, some of the vids that Jackson had put up when he was streaming beforehand, where something
Hmm.
clearly is not right with the man. Um,
Not right.
and I saw still shots of what happened. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to see a guy get his teeth, knocked out of his head in front of kids too. Like, there was an audience
It's
of children there who are also like now wondering, is this a work? As a man brutally is knocked into unconsciousness. Um, and it
I
doesn't
tell
matter.
you,
I mean, I know there is a lot you said, and I know
it,
there's a lot of background and maybe of what happened beforehand, the issues between the two, what they could or couldn't work out, who thought what was real, who had a concussion.
yeah.
Truthfully, though, there's zero rationale that you could put out there that would deserve what ended up happening in the ring. It's just an assault, and it's a breach of trust that you have when you go in that ring and you're putting your hands in your life in the
That's
hands of someone else, and it's just a
you,
breach of that trust.
that's just it. Because if you haven't seen it, then when his run in happens, right? He runs in, he does this like double leg takeout and brings Stu up, right? Brings the other guy up, and this wrestler is a wrestler, like a 15-year veteran, like a legit army vet that apparently wrestles for the camaraderie to help deal with this PTSD that he's had. So, well, and I can't imagine the PTSD he has now, but he's not fighting back. He's working, right?
Yeah,
Even at this point, he's working, and he goes down, and it's almost like this very clumsy Alabama slam where the kid wears right back and then takes him down. I think it looks to me like when Stu goes down, he doesn't flat back. He goes down on his side, hits his head. It wouldn't surprise me if we find out that he was unconscious at that point. Then the kid just mounts him, and 21 punches later, hard punches later, maybe 23, 20 some punches later, somebody comes in to pull him off. In this time, when they're trying to subdue this kid just to get him to stop, somebody thought it was a good idea to jump in the ring and pin Stu, and the ref counts it. There was so much chaos in this, so much of, and maybe it's the wrestling bubble that a lot of these people are in and a lot of these people are working in that don't recognize. that type of violence because that's not wrestling violence. That's something they've never seen before. It's just so bizarre. The whole thing, it's incredibly
The
unfortunate
problem
all
that the
around.
LAPD is going to have is that because it's pro wrestling and so many people were still trying to work in the middle of this shoot, they're going to have a
Yes.
hard time as outsiders from the bubble to discern what was planned, what
That's
was an assault, what was a pro wrestling show and angle. It is just an ugly stain
oh
on pro
so
wrestling,
bad.
and
So bad.
like you said, so many lives perhaps permanently affected
Currently
by
altered,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the one guy who brought the kid into the promotion to begin with has not only lost his spot with this with the wrestling school promotion, he says he's also been fired from his job, and and he mentioned something about coaching, so he can't even coach
Well,
kids now or something like that. So
I didn't mention it either as part of the story in our news segment, but there are some reports that a few of the wrestlers that were involved and only involved in by they were on the show and they were
uh-huh.
pulling him. Like there were three people who were on that show that were WWEID
Yeah.
trainees that are appearing on Evolve,
Uh,
last night, in fact, because it had already been taped, but that they lost their contracts. They definitely have been released.
oh.
If it is because of this, I mean, guilt by association in this instance just seems a little harsh, but there's just so much. Like I said, it's just an ugly stain on pro wrestling and just all the way around. This is just like not just botch of the week, but one of the biggest botches we will ever hopefully encounter in wrestling. That it doesn't get any worse than this because. I mean, LAPD just needs to jail Jackson ultimately. I mean, that's what
I mean,
needs to happen. It was an
really,
assault, plain and simple.
it truly was a plain and simple assault, clearly caught on camera. But like you say, you get back into this whole thing of, is it a work? Is it a shoot? Is this part of it? Because he's got a couple of hours where he's live streaming, talking about how he's always wanted to beat the crap out of a professional wrestler, and he gets his chance, and he's not going to hold back, and all this is he working? You know, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. It's sad. It's unfortunate, and it's just a bad situation all around. But let's hope Stu, best case scenario, gets his full recovery and is able to function
Yeah.
again like he was
And
prior to this, and that
gets
this
his
Jackson
livelihood
kids,
back, and yeah, that
yes,
justice is done for what happened off script. That Jackson definitely needs punished. Um,
yes.
Happier topics. Let's go to performance of the week.
Performance of the week. I'm gonna do match first. I'm gonna say my performer for last. But I want to do
Oh,
match
okay.
first. I'm gonna shake it up. I'm gonna do my because I
Well,
always
I
do
will
a
too.
end up.
Then I'll go match of the
Okay,
week
cool,
with
cool.
you.
Because I always end up with a performer instead of performance. But my match of the week, you know, Nigel and Zack Sabre Jr. Because I love me some Nigel. We know this. I am a stan for Nigel, and I just love what Nigel did. Yeah, just love me some Nigel, and working against a pro like Zack Sabre Jr. Come on, man, how can you not love that? May not be your match of the week, may not be your cup of tea, but I just love me some Nigel. So kudos to Nigel anytime I can shout him out, even for with his stealth retirement or whatever he's doing.
I mean, as if you're a fan of technical wrestling, it's it
Hmm.
is one of the best technical wrestlers of all time against probably the best technical wrestler of the modern day, also one of the best technical wrestlers of all time.
Yeah,
It was a clash of generations doing
it
you don't see
was.
very often, and it's amazing that Nigel can still wrestle at that high a level
Yes.
considering a decade out of the ring. I know he
Yeah.
came back against Daniel Bryan again. That's no walk in the park. He pulled that one off, and he pulled this one off. You can't be carried to matches that good, despite being, Brian
With
Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. So
exactly.
kudos to Nigel for holding up his
Yeah.
end in both regards. My match of the week, that is not it. That is ranks high. It is
Hmm.
off the same card, though. I'm
Okay.
going the main event. Hangman Page versus MJF. They got too cute for me there at the end with some of the,
Hmm.
outside involvement. WWE does the same thing. I don't know why big main events and both promotions have to have that style where you have 8 billion run-ins and ref bumps and things. But
Hmm.
overlooking that, what these two men did was just fantastic in the ring. Hangman Page has stealthily become that guy who at one point was the uh, other member
Yeah,
of the
he was the
elite.
other guy. Yeah.
He's the other guy to legitimately now maybe the best performer in the entire promotion.
Hmm.
I'm as surprised as anyone to say that, because I wasn't
No.
always a Hangman fan, but he has turned me into
Yeah.
a fan.
Yeah.
He's definitely
Yeah.
turned me into a fan. And then, of course, MJF is just one of the best
Oh
heels
my
in the
God.
business, who is such a good heel that it was very easy for him to get away a lot of times without having to do much in the ring just because he was so
Mhm.
good on the mic. And I think people forget and underrate just how good MJF can be when there is the right opponent and the right occasion. This is where he showed out. Both these men showed out what they can do. And you can't sleep on either of these two guys. They just tore it up.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely some good stuff too. And like you say, Hangman, because I always thought of him as like that other guy in the elite. Not that he was riding coattails. I think he belonged there because if anybody was riding coattails, I think it was Cody. But that's a rant for another time, which I've probably done on here before with Cody and just riding along with the elite. But Hangman was always the other guy in the elite. But he's come such a long way. I love the redemption arc that he's been on, and he's proven that he's gone from the other guy to the guy in
The
AEW.
guy.
And MJF, what you I don't need to say anything about MJF, and you nailed it there. Also, a great
You
match, absolutely.
you wanted to go performer or
I
performance of the week at the end. I can cede the floor to you last, and I can go first with this one.
All right, man, go ahead.
My performer of the week is Roman Reigns. And I give that to Roman for his promo on Monday Night Raw. Um, Obviously, we are big Roman Reigns fans around here, but this is the first time in a long time that I can say, instead of seeing Roman Reigns, I saw our tribal chief again. This is the guy who dominated the world title scene for years. Had one of the more impressive reigns in modern era of WWE. Turned us from Roman Reigns haters into Roman Reigns believers, quite
Hmm.
honestly. And because of his part-time role, because of his age, because of everything, he has well deservedly taken a step back after that reign and has really
Hmm.
been featured sporadically and in tag matches. And after WrestleMania, hadn't really around at all. And then he shows up with this promo on Bronson, and the whole, oh, I didn't even know you were Samoan, that means you're mine too, like all of it, the
Yeah.
swagger, the singular focus of him being a solo act again, obviously stating his intentions that I'm climbing the ladder of Paul Heyman guys until I take out Seth Rollins and get that title. Like all of that to me was okay. Now we have our tribal chief back,
Hmm.
and this is probably building through the rest of the year and into early next year, the next phase of Roman Reigns, putting him back towards that main event scene. And I loved it.
Yeah. All great stuff, especially the, oh wait, you're Samoan? Yeah, I love that
Uh,
too. That was great.
that means you're
Yes. Yes, I
perfect.
love that. Mm. All right. So I hate to keep going back to this, man. I really do hate to keep going back to this, but I'm going to because this has affected me on some level. It's probably best that you didn't watch all
Yeah.
this because I consume a lot of like YouTube and internet like wrestling information anyway, and get sucked up into the indies sometimes. Wasn't familiar with Knox Pro Wrestling before this, but I have to call out the performer of the week. This dude, I had to look him up to make sure I got his name right. Douglas Mallow, right? He is the big dude who actually comes in and pulls Jackson off of what has got to be an unconscious, not disco stew, good lord, psycho stew. Uh, 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 while everybody else, I think everybody else is just in in shock. And come to find out, I guess this guy has an MMA background too. And from some of the stuff, which I still think everybody's working all the time sometimes, and maybe more than sometimes, because I guess this guy has an MMA background. He was the only, like, I guess, shoot fighter there. And according to him, there are people in the within the promotion that said, "Hey, we need you to be ready. Something might go sideways, it might not, but we need you to be ready." Because he was the shoot fighter who could go up against the other shoot fighter if he needed to. But so many people around the ring just standing there, I don't know if they're in shocked disbelief about what was going on or just like, oh, I'm
or
not getting
fear.
involved with
I
that.
was
Yeah,
gonna say
exactly.
fear. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, you got a
Oh,
legit shoot fighter here who's mauling a guy. And yeah, kudos to him for maybe saving his life. I mean, because I've
yeah.
I've read interviews with him, Milo, that
But
basically
yeah,
said that he wanted to fight him. And, he thought Jackson was going to punch him as well,
yeah.
like he wanted to fight him too. So yeah, you're taking your life in your own hands when you see something like that happening and you intervene. But yeah, kudos to him for sure. He might have saved his life.
Yeah, I know uh, such a, again, such a terrible situation, but kudos to him. He's my performer of the week. That I don't know if it's a performance or not, because again, what's a work and what's a shoot, especially in that wrestling bubble. But kudos to him for what could have been a life-saving intervention there.
And I can't disagree with that in the slightest. With that, we are to the end of another episode of the Two Bros Wrestling Show. Whether you're watching us live, on demand, whatever channel you're watching us on, please
Right?
subscribe, like, comment. We'd love to hear from you and know what you think
Absolutely.
about our predictions. And if you want to join us live, we're back on our YouTube channel on not this upcoming Sunday because of Clash in Paris, but the following Sunday, we will be doing Clash in Paris. So join us then and let us your thoughts were on the big show.
Absolutely. And until then, go watch some wrestling, folks. Good night.